Chapter 1: A Tight Squeeze. It had been years when the factory closed. No one was around, no one in sight. I was given this note, "Find the flower." It'd been so long since I worked back at that factory. But I went back anyway. It wasn't at all what I remembered. It was pitch dark, mold all over the walls, like it was just rotting and decaying slowly. I looked around my surroundings to see if I could find anything. I found this VHS tape. It wasn't much, just a security measure tape. Didn't do anything good for me. Just talking about a tamed security guard? I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't pay attention to it and just walked away. It was still so dark. There was no power in the factory. It was so dark, so cold, so empty. There was a color code on the store I found. I looked and looked to see if I could find a code of something. Then I saw this train in a toy room full of lots of boxes. What was weird is some of the boxes didn't have the toys in them. I found that very strange. I took a good look at the code to remember the pattern, repeating it in my head. Green, pink, yellow, red. Green, pink, yellow, red. Don't forget! You're good at that. It felt like a cold shiver down my spine. But it was nothing. I then used the code from the train, and it worked. Found another VHS tape talking about a grab pack. I think I remember those. Didn't it help with the power or something like that? I didn't pay much attention to the VHS tape. I knew how to use a grab pack. Now there could finally be power. This could be a good sign. I soon regret that later. I grabbed the grab pack. There was this door. It showed a blue hand, and luckily I had a blue hand. I just matched the code to the door, and it opened. That's good. There was then this blue figured character. I swear I've seen him before. He had blue fur and a big sausage, red mouth. Such an interesting character. But that wasn't what I'm here for. I'm here because why I was sent here, from that Find the Flower note. I know one thing I needed to focus on, turn on the power somehow. There was a stand, a board about him, talking about what the character's name was. Huggy Wuggy? I know I've heard of that name, but I just can't remember. There was a button. Apparently it would play his theme song? Oh yeah, I remember this song. They used to play it for the children all the time, when there were interactions with the characters. I think I remember a little bit more now. Huggy Wuggy was always such a funny character. I checked the door where the power was, and of course, it was locked! Dang security! But then Huggy Wuggy strangely was holding a key? How did he even get that? I didn't pay attention to that. I just grabbed the key and went, and unlocked the door. I solved the puzzle, and it wasn't too tricky to turn on the power, but when I went back outside, the door where the power was, Huggy was gone. There was no trace of him in sight. He was gone from his stand. I couldn't find him anywhere. I was starting to panic. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I was so scared. What is this supposed to mean? Could he possibly be the security guard that one VHS tape in the beginning was talking about? I then took some deep breaths to calm myself down and used the blue hand again. It opened, thankfully. Then I saw Huggy's hand just for a split second through the door, and then it was gone. I was really then panicking. I was so scared. I don't understand what's happening. Why am I even here? Just then, as I was walking through the hallway, a pipe just burst out in front of me. Thanks. I really appreciate that. I almost had a mini heart attack. Then I found these glowing cubes, apparently to grab something. Compared to my grab pack, I looked on the top where all the shelves were and all the boxes, and boxes on top. And it was the red hand I was missing from my grab pack. Yay, time for more puzzles. I then grabbed at all the cubes to connect it together. Then I got the red hand. I found another VHS tape. It was more scary than I remember. This guy Rich on the VHS tape seemed really upset about Huggy boxes. I think I want to get out of here, then say cowardly to myself. I then went through the vents. And then there was this room make a friend machine? It almost seemed familiar to me again, like with the Huggy Wuggy character, but I still couldn't remember. I then finally got the power on in the make a friend machine. That puzzle was a lot more trickier. So many twists and turns, so much more power, buttons. Ugh. What a nightmare, I said to myself. Why did Playtime Co. even make puzzles? Probably to prevent, trespassers. Which made sense. And I thought to myself, even though I worked here, was I trespassed? I then used the Cappy toy, which it took a while to make in the Make a Friend machine. It was such a dark hallway. I checked to see if the 2 doors were unlocked, but they were locked, unfortunately. There was this dark, pitch black hallway. I went in. Closer and closer and closer and closer. I saw 2 glowing white eyes, teeth sharp as a blade, teeth drooling all over. A sharp, massive monster with a mouth open full of razor-sharp teeth. It was Huggy Wuggy! I then panicked and ran as fast as I could, even though I was scared out of my mind. He was so tall, slender, and huge! I know there was probably more I missed on the way, but I didn't care! I cared about my life! I then went inside of the vents, faster than the flash. Then I heard footsteps, thinking it was mine. It sounded so in sync, I didn't think of it. But then, got quieter. I walked through the vents, and I thought I was safe. I felt a sigh of relief, happy I was finally away from that monster. What the heck was this company even thinking? Just when I thought my troubles were over, then he appeared out of nowhere! On all fours, inside the vents! It felt like a nightmare! I was running for my life and running! Chasing every single breath I drew from my mouth! Not even looking behind me, even for a second or a glimpse! I was so scared! And I kept hearing scratch, 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 scratch! And a clunk, clunk in the vents! Just then, when I thought I escaped him, the door shut! I was then cornered right in front of him! Then, just within a blink of my luck, the door opened! I ran and ran as fast as I could! Didn't know I could run so fast in my life! Then, I finally made it out of the vents! The door closed behind Huggy, but he was banging and banging and banging and banging through the metal door! Strength was so strong, but then I saw a box on top of me. I didn't take any chance to think back and grabbed it immediately with my grab pack and swung it down on Huggy so quick! He then fell on the metal pipes. Down, 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 down in the pit he went. I could hear his screams in pain. I almost felt bad for him. I then kept walking until I could finally find the flower. And then I found it. Finally! There was a VHS tape called 1006, the prototype. I then played it and put it in. There was screaming in the back and scientists talking about some kind of project, experiment, but it went wrong. The tape then cut with just screaming in the back, and it didn't show anything more. It just said end of, and then that was it. Nothing more. Then there was this room, even more creepy. Flowers all over the walls, with a pretty lullaby playing in the back. I then walked on the padded floor. Well, I think it was padded, or was it wood? I think it is, but I'm not really sure. The wood was creaking though, quite a bit. I mean, it is an old factory after all. Then I found this room. There were red lights all around the front of the door. I hesitated for a second, but this was the flower. This is where I was supposed to go, so I had to do it. I then opened up the door to find a doll with red hair, blue eyes, and a rounded dress all around with beautiful ribbons. I then looked at the case and looked if there was a handle. There was. There were doll houses, pillows, felt like a child's room. How it was back then before everything was abandoned. I opened it, and then... But all the word said was, "You opened my case."